The top stories tonight in Y News. Vice President Leni Robredo is now ready to fight a bigger battle for the Filipinos and filed her certificate of candidacy for the presidency in the May 2022 elections.
Former Vice President Jejomar Binay and human rights lawyers Nery Colmenares and Shel Jokno are among the senatorial aspirants who formalized their intention today to run in the May 9, 2022 elections.
The Department of Health warned the public versus complacency as the country's COVID-19 cases decline.
The Department of Trade and Industry is pushing for the further expansion of businesses allowed to operate under the alert level systems.
The World Health Organization recommends broad rollout of malaria vaccine.
Japan and Singapore remain on top of the most powerful passports list.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, October 7, 2021. I am William Theo.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am Marvi Delfin.
First in the news, it's official. Vice President Leni Robredo will be running as president in the 2022 elections. Her running mate has not yet been formally announced, but sources say her VP is a lawmaker. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
Formalizing her bid for the presidency in 2022, Vice President Leni Robredo filed her certificate of candidacy today. She was accompanied by her daughters Trisha and Aika and legal counsel Romulo Macalintal. The vice president immediately left the venue right after she signed the integrity pledge. But in her official announcement this morning, Robredo said she is now ready to fight a bigger battle for the Filipinos.
Buong-buo ang loob ko ngayon. Kailangan nating palayain ang sarili mula sa kasalukuyang sitwasyon. Lalaban ako. Lalaban tayo. Inihahain ko ang aking sarili bilang kandidato sa pagkapangulo sa halalan ng 2022.
Robredo said the country would be at a disadvantage if people with personality similar to the present kind of governance will win in the 2022 national elections.
Nakita na nating lahat ang pagsisinungaling at panggigipit na kayang gawin ng iba para maabot ang mga layunin nila. Nasa kanila ang pera, makinarya, isang buong estrukturang kayang magpalaganap ng anumang kwentong gusto nilang palabasin. Kung parehong uri ng pamamahala at pareho ang pagkatao ng mga magwawagi sa araw ng halalan, wala tayong aasahang pagbabago.
According to a source, Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan will be Robredo's running mate. The vice president has yet to explain why she decided to run as independent and not under the Liberal Party, which she also chairs. Meanwhile, former Senator Bam Aquino won't be seeking a Senate comeback as he announces that he will serve as Robredo's campaign manager instead. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, on the other hand, will be running under Robredo's senatorial slate. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque meanwhile said it is the right of the vice president to run for public office.
Well, it's every right of a Filipino to stand for public office.
The Isambayan group, who earlier endorsed Robredo, assured that they will stand firm with the vice president in her presidential bid. Horilyn Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos welcomed Vice President Leni Robredo's decision for president in the 2022 elections. Marcos said having more candidates would be a good thing for healthy democracy. He lost to Robredo in the 2016 presidential race. Lacson, meanwhile, in a statement said he and running mate Senate President Vicente Soto III have agreed not to comment on their rivals. They would rather focus on presenting themselves and competencies to the electorate in an effort to get elected based on their own strengths and not on the deficiency of the others. Senator Manny Pacquiao and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Domagoso have yet to issue a statement or comment on Robredo's bid.
Meanwhile, former Vice President Jejomar Binay and human rights lawyers Nery Colmenares and Chel Jokno were among the senatorial aspirants who formalized their intention to run in the May 9, 2022 elections. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
Former Vice President Jejomar Binay will try to make a political comeback via the 2022 national and local elections. Binay, who will be running under the United Nationalist Alliance or UNA, filed his certificate of candidacy today. Former Bayan Muna Party List Representative Nery Colmenares in his speech highlighted the need for accessible healthcare and jobs in order to address the concerns of Filipinos in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic.
Ang ayaw gawin ni President Duterte sa kabila ng kaliwat kanang pangungutang, isa sa batas natin, mula libreng COVID testing hanggang sa pagpagamot ng iba't ibang sakit na hindi mag-alala sa gastusin.
Attorney Chel Jokno, who is also a human rights lawyer, meanwhile wants to push reforms in the justice system.
Kung ako'y bibigyan ng pagkakataon na magsilbi bilang isang senador, gagawin nating abot kamay ang hustisya. Palalakasin natin ang mga alternatibo sa paglilitis ng korte sa kaso. Dahil sa korte, dahil alam naman natin na pag pumasok tayo dyan, minsan umaabot pa ng dekada yan.
The two human rights lawyers ran in the 2019 midterm elections but lost. Former Defense Secretary Gilbert Gibo Teodoro and former House Speaker Taguig Patero's 1st District Representative Alan Peter Cayetano also filed their COCs today for Senator. Teodoro's COC was filed by a representative. Radio personality Carl Balita will also run as senator under the slate of Moreno Ong tandem.
We have to focus on recovery. Yeah, many countries, I have classmates from all over the world. And by chance, I have seen how they have legislated to pivot towards recovery.
More personalities are expected tomorrow, the last day of the filing of COCs. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A political analyst believes that Vice President Leni Robredo would be a strong candidate for the opposition. Dante Amento tells us why live. Yes, Dante, please go ahead.
Good evening, Diego. Professor Ramon Casipre describes Vice President Leni Robredo's presidential bid as a point of unity for the opposition. Robredo would also lead to complete the national candidates of the opposition. In her speech this morning, VP Leni urged unity.
Maliwanag yung ibig sabihin ng pag sabi niya na tatakbo siya. Kasi point of unity kagad yun. Hindi lamang sa Liberal Party, kundi lahat ng mga oposisyon may pwedeng saligan sila na kandidato. Ano? At malakas na kandidato si Vice President Leni Robredo. Dahil Vice President na siya, merong almost 15 million na boto yan. Hindi biro yun.
Casiple stresses either Robredo Pacquiao or Robredo Moreno would be a strong opposition tandem. VP Leni will even beat former Senator Bongbong Marcos, just like what happened in the 2016 vice presidential race.
Pandagdag sa boto na yun eh. Kung ano man yung boto ng inabot niya sa vice presidential race, madadagdagan ng ganong klaseng pagsama, no? Hindi siya yung agrabyado sa mga kombinasyon, ano? Effect malamang sa kanya, madadagdagan yung boto niya.
Meanwhile, Professor Casiple further adds that the door is still open for presidential daughter Sara Duterte to run as president in the 2022 elections, which would be a strong rival of Robredo. And that's the latest live. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Dante Amento, for that live report. The COVID-19 reproduction number is down to RO 0.67, according to the Octa Research Group. This indicates that the transmission of the virus is already slowing down, but the Department of Health warns the public should not be complacent. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
The Department of Health has confirmed that the daily COVID-19 cases in the country are now declining. But Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere urged the public to remain vigilant. DOH said it has to identify and analyze all factors, including the decline in the number of RT-PCR tests conducted across the country, before confirming cases are indeed decreasing.
So pag tinignan ho natin with all of these factors validated at napag-aralan, we are confirming that the cases are declining, pero hindi po ito sinyales para tayo ay maging complacent. Alalahanin po natin na bagamat bumababa ang ating mga kaso, ang ating po mga ospital ay meron pa rin pong mga pagkapuno.
Meanwhile, DOH said they analyzed the indicators and the process used by Nikkei Asia's COVID-19 Recovery Index, in which the Philippines ranked last. Undersecretary Vergere said the financial news magazine conducted a report in September while the country was at the middle of the surge.
So they compared ito pong pagtaas natin or infection rate when in fact hindi pare-pareho po ang time periods ng pagtaas ng kaso sa bawat bansa. Pangalawa, yung atin pong pagbabakuna, naging erratic din po iyan this September because of the supplies, of course. But of course, tinignan natin yung access dahil medyo naapektuhan din naman po dahil sa pagtaas ng kaso.
Nikkei's Recovery Index is based on the infection management, vaccine rollout, and social mobility of a country. The report was released a week after Bloomberg's COVID Resilience ranking, in which the country has also ranked last among 53 countries. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Antiviral oral pill Molnupiravir has showed good results against COVID-19 based on its preliminary interim results. Pharmaceutical company MSD, known as Merck in the United States and Canada, said they will be prioritizing to supply low and middle income countries. Aiko Miguel details why.
MSD President and Managing Director Dr. Beaver Tamesis said that they want to help these low and middle income countries prevent the collapse of their hospital system. Early results of the antiviral oral pill Molnupiravir showed it could have the chances of getting severe COVID-19 infection and death. MSD said they will be submitting an application to the United States for emergency use, then will eventually apply in the Philippines.
We wanted to improve access quickly. Because, in a pandemic like this, you've heard this before. Nobody is safe until everybody is safe, right? So vaccination has to ramp up. But more importantly now, we have to have some kind of background. We have to have some kind of treatment backup for having an early treatment to prevent hospital systems from collapsing.
Compared to other COVID-19 investigational drug, Molnupiravir focuses on early treatment of unvaccinated individuals. MSD had conducted clinical trials of Molnupiravir at the Lung Center of the Philippines and Quirino Memorial Medical Center. They are also planning to start a prophylaxis clinical trial in the fourth quarter of 2021.
The vaccine is designed to try to prevent severe illness and sometimes can really prevent even catching the illness. This time we have a pill or have a drug that actually treats early. Early treatment now is what we're after. By early treatment, we can hopefully prevent requirement or progression towards hospitalization and more severe illness. So that's really what molnupiravir is been designed for.
Dr. Beaver Tamesis also said they will be testing molnupiravir among unvaccinated households of COVID-19 patients having been exposed to virus carriers. They plan to conduct another set of trial at the Quirino Memorial Medical Center and the Asian Medical Center. According to Philippine Food and Drug Administration Director General Eric Domingo, 4 hospitals have applied for a Compassionate Special Permit or CSP for the use of molnupiravir among COVID-19 patients. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In other news, formerly Pharmaceutical Corporation's Linconn Ong sought the help of the Supreme Court on his continued detention at the Senate. Through his legal counsel, Ferdinand Topacio, Ong urged the SC to declare unconstitutional the authority of the Senate to detain a resource person who has been cited in contempt. Named respondents to the petition were the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee and its chairperson, Senator Richard Gordon, Senate President Vicente Soto III, and retired Major General Rene Samonte of the Senate Sergeant at Arms. Ong has been under the custody of the Senate since September 21.
In other news, the government has increased the operating capacity of business allowed to operate under the Alert Level 4. But the Department of Trade and Industry says they are also considering to reopen more businesses under the newly implemented system. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why live. Yes, Asher, go ahead.
The Department of Trade and Industry seeks to further increase the economic revenue while the country continued to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. This is while the operating capacity has been increased from 10% indoor capacity to a maximum of 30% for fully vaccinated citizens and those with safety seal certification, and where outdoor activities has been extended to 40% capacity. DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez explains that the venue capacity allowed in establishments under Alert Level 4 is enough, but allowing other businesses to operate under the alert levels will help the economy recover even more.
Ang atin pong pinag-aaralan ngayon would be other activities. Kunwari, hindi pa nabalik yung mga therapeutic, mga massage and all that, na marami ring nasa ganiyang industriya. No? Marami ring nagtrabahong nag-aantay dyan na makabalik.
Meanwhile, the government is also considering if they can allow the reopening of cinemas and arcades, among others, once the National Capital Region shifts to Alert Level 4. Secretary Lopez explains that this will not only help in job generation, but also allow the continuity of businesses. This is while the Philippine Statistics Authority records about 3.88 million Filipinos who lost their livelihood in August.
Iba-ibahin na lang ang operating capacity depending on the alert level system. But at least may kasiguraduhan na ang mga MSMEs ay tuloy-tuloy na mag-ooperate. Pati ho yung mga nagtatrabaho ay hindi po pahinto-hinto, hindi open-close, open-close.
The DTI added that reopening more establishments will further help businesses to recover to be able to pay the required 13-month pay to their employees. The agency saw a big improvement in the operating capacity of businesses upon the implementation of the alert level system, which the government is planning to also soon impose outside the National Capital Region. Marvi?
Thank you, Asher Kadapan Jr.
World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus announced on Wednesday the plans for a widespread rollout of the first ever malaria vaccine. Paul Gatchalian details why live. Yes, Paul?
Elsie, pilot testing of the malaria vaccine has shown that it's safe and could be distributed in remote and rural areas in Africa. RTSS was developed by British drug maker GlaxoSmithKline and is delivered in 4 doses. Through the pilot program, more than 800,000 African children have already received the vaccine since 2019. In a media briefing, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus referred the development of the vaccine as a major leap in the fight against malaria.
We still have a very long road to travel. But this is a long stride down that road. This vaccine is a gift to the world, but its value will be felt most in Africa because that's where the burden of malaria is great.
Furthermore, he said that the vaccine can be delivered through child health clinics and that the demand in the community for the vaccine is strong. The approval of the vaccine is a landmark moment in the continent's long-running battle with malaria, which has killed 400,000 in 2019, with 260,000 of them killed were children under the age of 5. Elsie?
Paul, are there any concerns surrounding the use of the malaria vaccine?
Well, Elsie, since the vaccine is administered in 4 doses, there are fears that parents might not bring their children back for the last dose, which was given around 18 months after the 3 initial doses. The trial program has also put an end to other health concerns surrounding the malaria vaccine, such as increased rates of meningitis, cerebral malaria, and an increase in deaths among girls. With the vaccine having been given to 800,000 children, it has already been cleared that there is no link to these events, according to WHO Director of Immunization, Vaccines, and Biologicals, Kate O'Brien. Elsie?
Thank you, Paul Gatchalian. Foreign Affairs Minister Nanaia Mahuta has announced New Zealand will send a special representative to the Middle East to support citizens, permanent residents, and other visa holders who want to leave the war-torn country as the situation on the ground continues to deteriorate. She said that of 1,253 visas granted, only 428 people came back from Afghanistan since the Taliban took control. Mahuta said that the government will also assess further humanitarian support and other immigration pathways available. Vietnam is planning to open key tourist spots starting December, ahead of full resumption of June next year. Charis Longbowen tells us why live. Yes, Charis?
Good evening, Elsie. Vietnam is pushing ahead of the plan to welcome vaccinated tourists from low COVID-19 risk countries. Starting December, the government will open key tourist spots such as the UNESCO World Heritage, Halong Bay, and the beach destination Nha Trang. The move to open the tourism industry after a long lockdown follows similar steps taken by neighboring Thailand. Meanwhile, the Vietnamese government said that they are speeding up COVID-19 vaccinations ahead of the reopening of tourist destinations in December. The tourism sector, which accounts for about 10% of gross domestic product in Vietnam, was hit the hardest by the pandemic. Foreign arrivals fell to 3.8 million last year, down from 18 million in 2019. This is equivalent to 12% GDP when tourism revenue was 31 billion. Elsie?
Charis, how's the COVID-19 situation in Vietnam? Have they fully controlled the infection?
Well, I wouldn't say it is fully controlled, Elsie, but the numbers have significantly reduced from 12,000 infections last month down to around 6,000 on October 1st. And for the past 2 days, there have been around 4,000 reported infections across the country. Elsie?
Thank you, Charis Longbowen. Amidst the pandemic and border closures in many countries, Japan and Singapore continue to top the list of most powerful passports. Joselito Liquido will tell us why live. Go ahead, Joselito.
Good evening, Elsie. Henley & Partners, a global citizenship and residence advisory firm based in London, uses data from International Air Transport Association to score passports based on the total number of destination holders can access without having to apply for a visa. Japan and Singapore can enter visa-free to 192 countries, followed by Germany and South Korea with 190 visa-free destinations. Finland and Italy and Luxembourg were ranked third, while Australia and Denmark fourth. Afghan nationals sit at the bottom rank with access to only 26 countries alongside Egypt. Between the advanced and developing countries, the gap is more likely to increase as pandemic-related restrictions may potentially amplify global mobility. In the 2021 Global Mobility Report, published by Henley and Partners, countries in the Global South have mainly relaxed their borders considering its economic gain. Some countries found to be most stringent in the global mobility were Fiji and Jamaica, who were both indexed at 88.89. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Joselito Liquido. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
And before we close, we will leave you with the word giving glory to God from the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 13. It says, "But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved."
And those are the reasons behind the news, October 7, 2021. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Marvi Delfin.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
So pag tinignan ho natin with all of these factors validated at napag-aralan, we are confirming that the cases are declining, pero hindi po ito sinyales para tayo ay maging complacent. Alalahanin po natin na bagamat bumababa ang ating mga kaso, ang ating po mga ospital ay meron pa rin pong mga pagkapuno.
Buong-buo ang loob ko ngayon. Kailangan nating palayain ang sarili mula sa kasalukuyang sitwasyon. Lalaban ako. Lalaban tayo. Inihahain ko ang aking sarili bilang kandidato sa pagkapangulo sa halalan ng 2022.